Hello and welcome back to the Microlearning Institute. In this tutorial we provide a brief overview of Harmons Process Strategy Matrix. Now, as the name suggests, this matrix provides us with a range of strategies for various processes within our organization. Visually, Harmons Process Strategy Matrix is presented like this, where Harmon gets us to think about the two aspects of processes within our organization. First, the strategic importance of the processes within our organization, and secondly, on the y-axis, the complexity of those processes. Now, Harmon categorizes the strategic importance and the complexity as either being low or high. So, for example, with regard to strategic importance, if we deem that a process has a high strategic importance, what we're suggesting is that this process is important for the organization to maintain competitive advantage in the competitive environment in the future. However, if the strategic importance is deemed to be low, we deem it to be an unimportant process that's maybe a support process but isn't important in helping the company compete in its competitive environment. Similarly, with regard to complexity, if a process is simple and easily described in a series of process steps, we deem the complexity to be low. However, if the process requires a lot of knowledge or a lot of technology or is maybe not very well defined and streamlined, then we deem that complexity to be high. Harmon provides us with a number of strategies now by which we should manage these processes. So let's start with a process where the strategic importance is low and it's a pretty simple process as well, with the complexity being low. So Harmon suggests that we should look to automate that process or else outsource it and give it to somebody outside of the organization. However, now secondly, looking at processes where the strategic importance is low, however the complexity is quite high, Harmon suggests to us here that we should look to outsource that process, of course assuming that some organization is available that manages processes of this high complexity. Next, Harmon gets us to look at processes which have a high strategic importance, i.e. they're going to help us to compete in the competitive environment in the future. However, their complexity is low, they're pretty simple processes. So Harmon says we should strive to automate those processes where possible. And finally, Harmon looks at processes which are highly strategic for the future and also very complex. So these may be processes in the modern world like supply chain management in the technology industry, or innovation, or R&D in the pharmaceutical industry. And Harmon says that the approach that companies should take to these processes is to strive to improve the process, to actually look at making the process more streamlined and more effective. So let's have a look now at the process improvement methodology that is suggested. And this methodology is called DMAIC, and we'll see in a short while what DMAIC means. It's a structured methodology to improve a process and generate business results. It consists of a set of tools and a set of applications. And the DMAIC model has a number of stages, and again, as suggested by the mnemonic DMAIC, the first stage is define, where we're trying to define what it is we want to achieve. Then we take some measures to assess how is the process performing at the moment and where are the inefficiencies in the process perhaps that could be improved. Then we analyze those measures, so we analyze them graphically, we analyze them statistically to see where is the best improvement that can be made. Then we improve those processes. We take steps to eliminate non-value added activities or to maybe make the process more robust. And then we put controls in place that sustains the improvement for the future. The DMAIC process consists of a series of steps: define, measure, analyze, improve, control, and also some tools within each step. So in the define stage, we use tools such as value stream mapping, SIPOC, process mapping, and voice of the customer. At the measure stage, we collect data and we do some statistical sampling. At the analyze stage, we might use a Pareto analysis to analyze the data collected during measure. We might use a fishbone diagram to further understand the data that we collected during the measure phase. We might do some hypothesis testing to test particular hypotheses and see are they consistent with the measurements that we've taken. Or we might also do some regression or correlation analysis to see are there correlations between variables that we've collected at the measure stage. Once we've analysed and we've decided what to do, then we can look to make some improvements to the process. And again, we use here techniques like 5S, maybe line balancing to balance particular process steps, process flow improvement, and Kaizen philosophies. And lastly, in the control phase, we look to put in place control charts, introduce mistake proofing, and the philosophy of plan, do, check, and act, and also some training to ensure that the improvements that have been put in place during the improve phase are sustained for the future, and that the organisation doesn't revert back to an inefficient process. Thank you very much for watching this short tutorial from the Microlearning Institute about Harmons Process Strategy Matrix.